You ever have one of those nights where you swear you feel fate breathing down your neck, just waiting to see if you'll run or finally turn around and fight? That was me, Natasha Williams, a nobody janitor with calluses on my hands and a badge I'd buried deep in the bottom of a dresser drawer, just trying to disappear in the maze of fluorescent-lit hallways at Metropolitan General until all hell broke loose and I realized you can't really hide from the person you used to be, not when innocent lives are on the line and the world suddenly expects you to be a hero again. Like it or not. You know what I mean? Let me back up a sec. I was halfway through mopping the ER floor, humming quietly, blending into the background of hospital chaos, when the automatic doors exploded open and 3 men in black rushed in like they owned the place. All harsh voices and cold eyes. Nobody noticed me, and honestly, that's how I liked it bit that night. Something in the air fell off like static before a lightning strike. Patients shrieked, nurses ducked, and old Bobby Martinez from security fumbled his radio so hard it almost hit the floor. And me? I hid, just like everyone else, heart hammering, fighting the urge to act. 2 years I'd spent building this quiet life, and now my old instincts, the ones that used to keep me alive, came roaring back, louder than the emergency alarms. They weren't there for drugs or money. The leader, this guy with a shaved head and a voice like gravel, started barking about room 237, where some poor kid from a warehouse shooting was lying sedated and helpless. My blood went ice cold. These guys were here to clean up loose ends, and suddenly the mop in my hand felt more like a lifeline than a tool. I caught Dr. James Patterson's eyes from across the room's the kind of man who makes everyone feel seen, even the janitor nobody else remembers, and in that moment, I knew, if I did nothing, people I cared about would die. I'd spent years trying to convince myself I was done with all this, but some debts you never outrun. As the gunmen took the elevator up, aiming to finish their job, I stood up straight for the first time in months. The scared janitor melted away, replaced by the woman I used to be, focused, unafraid, ready to use every dirty trick I ever learned just to buy a little more time. Patterson saw it happen. Too, his eyes flickered with recognition, like maybe he always suspected there was more to me than latex gloves and cleaning spray. But you want the real twist? None of this was my first rodeo. 3 years back, I was crouched behind a car in Chicago, bullets smashing glass inches from my face while my partner, Thompson, bled out beside me. I chose to stay with him, and 12 witnesses died for it. I left the bureau carrying more ghosts than I could count, swearing I'd never make another decision with blood on my hands. So yeah, hiding out as a janitor? It was supposed to be penance, not a new beginning. But you know what I learned scrubbing hospital tiles at 2 a.m.? Kindness still matters. James would bring me coffee on his rounds, no questions, just genuine decency. He learned my name, asked about my day, treated me like a person when everyone else looked right through me. Over months, those moments chipped away at my walls. I started attending potlucks, memorizing exits out of habit, telling myself I was just being cautious when really I was relearning what it meant to care again. When that first gunman, Tony, started losing his nerve and pointing his weapon at patients, I knew it was time. I moved through the blind spots, picked up zip ties and a heavy wrench for maintenance, slipped medical restraints into my pocket call at the janitor's toolkit with a side of federal muscle. These guys thought they were predators, but they'd never been preyed on by a woman with everything to lose. I waited, heart pounding, as their leader interrogated James, demanding to know where the witness had gone. The second guy, Rico, stood just far enough away, too sure of himself. I slipped behind him, locked him in a sleeper hold, and had him zip-tied in less than 5 seconds. One down. Then I lobbed a metal bedpan at Tony's head, so hard the clang echoed off the wall she dropped, stunned, while the leader spun in a panic. That's when I vaulted the nurse's station, twisting his wrist until the gun fell, all the old training coming back like muscle memory you never really lose. Security. Stay down. My voice didn't sound like mine, not after so long being silent. The whole room froze. 3 armed men, neutralized in under 2 minutes by a janitor nobody saw coming. Dr. Patterson stared at me, shock and questions mixing in his eyes. I checked him for injuries and, shaking from the adrenaline, and That's when I heard a new voice crackle on Rico's radio. A fourth gunman. My relief vanished, replaced by dread. Kevin Thompson, the witness upstairs, was still in danger, and this guy was already closing in. No time for explanations. I ordered James to lock down the fourth floor, trusting him to move fast. My cover was shot, but there was no going back. We sprinted to the ICU, found security already frozen at the door. The gunman had barricaded himself inside with Kevin Young, desperate, clearly improvising. I had James pull the medical files. Kid was drugged, couldn't even run. So what was the gunman after? Not testimony. He wanted to be sure Kevin couldn't identify anyone, even if all he could do was point a finger. Here's the thing about hospitals' ventilation systems, our janitor's playground. I crawled above the ceiling tiles with James guiding me by flashlight, found the valve, started raising the temperature in the room. Within minutes, the air was thick, the gunman was pacing, and when security offered water through the intercom, he actually stepped away from the bed just long enough for me to swipe my MasterCard, slip inside, and drop him with another sleeper hold. 2 years running for violence, and here I was, saving a kid whose name was another Thompson, staring down my ghosts all over again. That's the moment James saw me, really saw Minute just as Natasha, the janitor, but Natasha Williams, former FBI. We had our reckoning in a side room, the air thick with truth. "You're not just a janitor, are you?" he said, and I finally told him everything about Chicago, about running, about the guilt that drove me underground. He didn't flinch. He took my hand, steady as always. "You saved lives tonight. That's who you are." I barely had time to process before the director showed up, dragging all my old failures into the light. Kevin's testimony could finally bring down Cardew, the man who haunted my nightmares. The Bureau wanted me back. I wanted to stay. I was torn between two worlds of life I'd built in stolen quiet, and the unfinished justice only I could deliver. James never pressured me. He brought takeout to my tiny apartment, listened as I turned the decision over and over. Protecting people is what you do, Natasha. The rest, we figure out together. Love doesn't always come in candlelight and roses. Sometimes it's bad coffee in hospital hallways at 3 a.m., someone looking at your scars and loving you anyway. In the end, I took the job back in my terms, no more running. 2 weeks finishing my commitment at the hospital, then back in a badge and gun, but now I wore both with my head held high. My coworkers reacted every way you can imagine: pride, suspicion, embarrassment. Mrs. Chin from billing grinned and told me my coffee still sucked, and that was enough to remind me I was still me, scars and all. 6 months later, Kevin testified, Cardew was sentenced, and I stood on the courthouse steps with my new partner, Marcus Rodriguez, feeling like maybe, just maybe, the scales finally balanced. I took a job as hospital security director, still working cases for the Bureau, still coming home to James. He proposed in his office, with a ring that made me laugh and cry at the same time. I don't want normal. I want you, the woman who protects, who fights, who refuses to give up on people, even herself. So yeah, I said yes, and I meant it. The past can follow you all at once, but what you do when it catches up, that's the only thing that matters. Now, every time I walk those halls, badge on my hip, mop in hand, I remember, sometimes you have to lose everything before you find the courage to be yourself. Sometimes being invisible is the most dangerous thing you can be, because when you finally step into the light, nobody sees it coming. Now it's your turn. What do you think? Can people really outrun their pasts? Or do we all circle back eventually? What would you have done if you were messy, hidden, or step up? Drop your thoughts below. I want to know what you'd risk for justice, and what you think makes someone a hero in the first place.
Xin chào các bạn, mình là Trinh, mình phụ trách viết content. Trên đây là những công việc của mình, là mình lên mạng xã hội tìm hiểu những video.
Next one? Alright. Thank you, man. Hey, if you guys have any trouble, let somebody know. Please.
After the tree to hold on to. Yeah,
Yeah,
Use the fence.